Have you ever felt?
Damn. Hello everybody, this is the Inspire Nepal Show and I'm Dinesh. And on the show we have Poonam Rai. She works as an admin for mortgage company. You also did your bachelor's in sociology and criminology. You did your master's in international relations. You're currently working with the Center for Nepali Studies UK. You're helping out with research on migration and social mobility on Nepali in the UK. And you're also working on Namas Adventure, which is a volunteer tourism.
Yes.
And you were a big part of. You played a big part in. You were a part of an earthquake relief team in Nepal in 2015. That's a very long list there. I'm sure I got everything in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Poonam Rai, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. So, do you like our setting?
Yeah.
Set up the little studio going on around here.
Yeah, I like it. I like
Yeah.
the energy, I like the vibe, I like the light coming in.
Yeah. Well, we normally do it at night, so the curtains are closed. But just for you, we keep it open.
Oh, thank you. So nice of you.
Yes. Now the reason we wanted you on our show is because we found you very inspiring. The work that you were doing, especially in Nepal during the earthquake. So you were there during the earthquake, not during the earthquake. You were before there and after.
After, yes.
Yes. What did you feel like when you heard about the earthquake?
When I first heard about the earthquake, it was obviously it was on a Saturday, right? So I didn't take it quite seriously. I had work that day, so kind of just went to work, and only then that I realized when I was on social media the magnitude of the earthquake that hit Nepal. And at that moment, I just called my parents up straight away, just to make sure that everyone back home was fine, and which they were, thank God for that. But obviously the news that was coming after was not good news. So I just didn't know what to feel. I just didn't know, yeah.
So, but you did check up with your grandparents in Nepal?
Yeah. I have grandparents living there and some of my family living there. So, I mean, they were fine. They were fit and fine. But obviously, reading the news and what was going on, it wasn't fine. Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but you were there before the earthquake actually happened.
Yes, I was. I just went there for a holiday, for a 6 weeks holiday before the earthquake took place, and I really had a really good time. Saw what I wanted to see, and found this love for Nepal once again. So I came back I had my graduation for my master's. So I came back for the graduation, and 2 weeks down the line, there was an earthquake. So I decided to go again.
What made you go to help out with the relief?
I built this connection when I went to Nepal prior to the earthquake, and my family was there. There were people that I knew who were there, and I just couldn't even think what were they going through, and if I could be of any help to them, and I would. So I had build this connection with Nepali people as a whole, and I wanted, as a Nepali, I wanted to be there. I wanted to share their pain, or do whatever I can on my capability to help out. And I mean, that's the reason that I just decided to go to Nepal. And also, of course, I wanted to volunteer as well. And I thought this is the best way that I can help out in my country when the country is in need. So I decided to go for it.
Did you get permission with your parents though?
Yeah, I did. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, because I was dreading it. But thankfully my parents were very supportive of my decision, and so yeah.
So how many of you there that went to Nepal?
We built a team of 5.
Yeah.
We worked alongside with Nava Yuva and Buddhist Community Center, and there was a team before us that went as well. So kind of we were working in teams. And they were kind of supporting us from the background in each and every team that was going by. So we had a group of nurses that was already in Nepal. So the second team was us. And we formed that team kind of out of nowhere. We didn't know the team members who were in the team. So it was that moment when the social media went boom. Everyone started connecting with each other, networking with each other. And that's when I found my team members. We had 2 nurses. Sunta Didi and Bhavna Didi, who I do know, and Sorala Thapa, who got in touch. We got in touch during the earthquake time, and also Ujjwal, who had prior army experience. So we thought he would be very useful to the team. So the 5 of us kind of ventured out to Nepal.
So you landed in Kathmandu.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean,
Were you scared like when you first landed there?
yeah, it's kind of like you don't know what to expect when you're there. So as on the flight, as we were approaching Nepal, we were all by the windows trying to see if we could get a glimpse of what was, what was happening on ground. But obviously not. But as we were approaching Kathmandu, I expected the whole city to be kind of wiped out, flattened. But, in a good way, like it wasn't. So that's, it was good. It was good to see that the buildings were still.
That's what you see on the news, though.
Yeah, I think obviously as news they exaggerate a bit too much, but the reality was kind of different, but also not the same. If that kind of makes sense.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And where did you live in when you were in Kathmandu with your team?
Yeah, with that team, our main place was, I live in Bhaktapur, so we kind of made that our center point. The places that we wanted to go to was just accessible nearby. So places like Sindhupal Chowk, you kind of had to cross through Bhaktapur anyway.
Yeah.
So we thought that would be like a good place to kind of start up. So it was Bhaktapur where we started, kind of branching
Did you
out.
take like anything from UK to Nepal?
Yes, we did. We had backpacks each for our own, our own supplies kind of thing.
Right.
But then the rest of the weight was just relief materials. So it was just tarpaulins, food, medical supplies. Just things like that.
Now, when you were there, obviously, they were like, was there panic going on around, or were the people quite calm with what was going on, like the situation there?
By the time we went there on May 5th. So the earthquake happened, struck on April 25th, right? So it was kind of had a 10-day period. By the time we got there, there's no one on the streets. There was no movement whatsoever. But people were kind of still very scared of what was going on. I think a lot of people were traumatized. But yeah, there was no movement on the streets whatsoever when we were down there.
Yeah, just take me through your journey during those times, like when you landed there, and then you guys just everyone just met up, and you had obviously you had meetings and strategies and where to go, what to do.
Yeah. I mean, we had a plan from the UK because we didn't want to go without a plan.
Yeah.
So we met up with a charity called Human Nature Foundation Nepal, who is based in Nepal, and they were working on ground at that time. So as soon as we landed, we had a meeting with them outside the airport, just them giving us information on what's going on ground and what our next location is and what we need in terms of relief and aid. So we had a brief meeting and gave ourselves about a 2-day period time to get everything sorted, because also you have to hire a jeep, you have to hire trucks, a lot of logistics and planning goes in there. So we gave ourselves 2 days leeway. But in the meanwhile, we were working in Beer Hospital, where some of our friends were already working there. So we kind of just went there and, were open to what we could do.
And then, what were the destination or places that you had to go to help out with the relief or medicines and things like that?
With destinations, we kind of just went along with the flow. So the first destination, we went to Sindhupal Chowk because it was obviously the worst affected districts in Nepal. So we went to Sindhupal Chowk the first time, and as that went, we went to a couple of destinations in Sindhupal Chowk. Our second project was also in Sindhupal Chowk. And then as the time went on, we started branching out a bit more. So we ended up going to Tading, and some of our team members were in Gorkha, Ramitsap, Numakot. So we kind of tried to touch upon as much as we can. But then slowly, as we were working, we decided that it's best to kind of give 100% of attention to a place or a community.
Yeah.
That would be much more helpful than kind of just, spreading your wings everywhere. Yeah. So by the end of the project, we decided to base ourselves in Dolakha and work with a school and a teenager there who she didn't have any family, and her house was kind of collapsed and everything. So we thought maybe picking on her, who's young and, you know, ambitious, kind of help her out in terms of house and education. So that was our main priority at the end of the relief work. But yeah, in the beginning, we kind of just tried to touch upon as many areas as we could.
So what was your role in particular during those times?
It kind of varied as we went on.
Right.
I mean, the first, we all worked as a team, so it was kind of just discussing how many rations we need for this particular place that we're going to, or how we're going to allocate the roles. Because it was our first time there, we didn't know how it was going to go, because it does get chaotic and it does get out of hand really quickly, because there's thousands of people just kind of rushing towards your vehicle and you don't know what to do and how to organize it. So, I mean, we did a lot of networking, I think, bringing people together, keeping it together, and also because we worked with a lot of schools, because we decided to work with schools as well. Again, like, you know, relief work, it can kind of, it stretches upon all areas. So we decided to focus on children and schools. So with children in schools, we were just teaching most of the time, keeping them occupied, and cooking for the team.
Right. So you guys were cooking and doing everything else.
Yeah.
Were you building like any shelter and things like that? For the people?
We built more than shelters. We did a lot of schools, building classrooms, temporary classrooms. Because we thought, if we build a shelter for one family, what about the next family?
Exactly.
You know, so if we do something for the community, for the children, then that's for the whole of the community. So we decided to focus on children and schools. So we did a lot of temporary school building, classrooms and so on.
Did you experience a lot of aftershocks after the main earthquake happened?
Yeah, I mean, our first experience of a proper real earthquake was the second one.
Okay, you were actually there when the second one happened.
Yes, the second one actually happened. We were on our way to Melamchi. We were crossing Melamchi on our way to Tulopakar. That's the village called Tulopakar. And we were on our way, and that's when the second one struck. We were on the car, on the move. Kind of everyone was just dozing off, but we got woken up by an earthquake.
During the day or at night?
During the day.
During the day.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were the vehicle was moving, and then.
Yeah, the vehicle was moving, and all you could see was just landslides. Like kind of just just going into dust, and just houses crumbling. And
so you must have stopped.
Yeah, we kind of.
How long did it last?
Couple of seconds, I'm sure.
Okay.
But obviously the effect, the aftermath of it is quite heavy.
How did you feel when that happened, the second one?
Oh, I didn't know what to feel. It was quite a shock.
Were you guys panicked, like when that happened? Or?
No, it was, you know, when you're really panicky and nervous, you kind of laugh, that nervous laughter. Everyone's just doing that.
Okay.
So we kind of just kept looking at each other and just a nervous laughter, didn't know what to say to each other. But we were trying to keep the team spirits going, so everyone was very jokey and funny. And regardless of the earthquake, we decided to move on to our destination. So, you know, we were like, you know, I think we can do it. So that was the team spirit, so we went ahead with it regardless of the earthquake. And we did obviously feel a lot of aftershocks. But yeah, it was all right.
What was the state of Sindabalchok? Was that your first destination?
Yeah, the first destination was Sindabalchok. The first time when we went there, it was shocking to see the devastation. I mean, the houses were all crumbled and were under rubbles, and you could just see families outside living in tarpaulins, and like children just walking around, and almost there's nothing there, you know. When there was a family once who used to live in this house, and it's not there anymore. Just, you know, you build this image in your head, and it's just a very sad.
It is sad.
Yeah, it's a very sad
just
thing
hearing what you're saying is like, it is sad to hear that.
Yeah.
But you were there, like you saw firsthand.
Yeah, it was shocking. I didn't know what to take from it. But yeah, it was one of the
might have
sights.
felt a little bit surreal.
Yeah, I hope I don't have to ever see it again.
No.
Yeah.
No. So, but the people were all right, though. They were like.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the people were fine, and you could see that they were trying their best to make the best out of the situation there. But I'm sure a lot of people suffered. You know, something that I would not be able to explain their suffering. But yeah.
So how long did you stay there, and then when did you actually come back to the UK?
We ended up staying in Nepal for quite a while. Our team members ended up staying for about 2 months to 3 months, I think, and I ended up staying for 4 months and a bit. And I got back to UK in November. So from Nepal, I kind of ventured out to Hong Kong for a while. I just wanted to see my family and just relax. From here, just relax and just be with my family. So I stayed, ended up living in Hong Kong for about 3 months. And
Where did you live? Whereabouts did you live in Hong Kong?
in Yamatai.
Yamata.
Yamatai.
Yamatai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yamatai. A lot of Nepali people live there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you came back to UK?
Yeah.
And you haven't been back to Nepal ever since then?
No, I haven't. I would love to go again just to
Yeah.
see, how it's been kind of reconstructed and how the people are living on. But yeah.
I'm very curious as to, did anything change for you after you've experienced that event in terms of just your perspective on life? Did anything change?
Yeah, of course. Literally after the earthquake, my whole world has been
Yeah,
upside
yeah,
down.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so how I took things for granted, now I try not to, take things for granted.
Yeah.
From family to friends to the house that we have, the friends, and just everything, how privileged and how lucky we are to be living here and to be educated here, to, do whatever we want. It's a place of freedom, and just back home in Nepal, you can see the struggle, and the struggle is real.
I don't think people realize, those people who are living in the UK, how fortunate they are.
Yeah, of course.
With everything.
Yeah,
like we just take it for granted every single day.
Yeah, we do take it for granted. But I think it's good for people to kind of go back and see Nepal for what it is, and not just the
city life.
The city life, yeah.
The clubbing
and the club, the Tamil life,
Yeah.
There's much more to it.
But you've done a lot of volunteers in Nepal.
Yeah, I mean, a lot as in
Well, you did
the
go.
earthquake.
Yes, the earthquake.
And well, I did a little bit of volunteering prior to the earthquake when I was there for 6 weeks. We taught in a monastery in Bodha, and it was just teaching the monks English and arts and crafts and so on. And my friend had initially gone. My friend was there before me, so I kind of just took over her work.
Okay.
So it was really good. It was really, really good. I think that was one reason I wanted to go back, because I had made this connection with the monks and the people there, with the place itself, and to see Bodha not there anymore. As in, obviously it's there, but to see it not the way it once was, it's very heartbreaking. So
yeah, a lot of things happened.
A lot of things changed. A lot of things has happened. Yeah.
So what are you doing now? As in, after you come back to UK, you obviously settled with your work and a lot of projects that you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, I took up on work, because obviously you have to work here to survive, right? But also, in the meanwhile, while working, I wanted to take up on individual projects that I could, grow and learn. So at the moment, I'm working with assisting, let's say, CNS UK, Centre for Nepali Studies UK, and they have a study going on about migration and social mobility, which looks at the second generation of Nepali people who are in the UK and how well they're doing in terms of education and occupation, and whether we integrate within the British class system, where do we fall upon, and also looking at the parents' social positions, how it impacts our lives, where do the life choices that we make depending on our parents' social positions. So yeah, we're just looking at that at the moment.
Okay. So do you have to do do you have to conduct research?
Yeah, this is a kind of like initial phase at the moment.
Right.
We're just doing some social mapping around areas like Farnborough and Reading. So at the moment, we're just extracting information, basic information as to your name and when did you move to UK and how did you come to the UK. I mean, there's Gurkhas and there's also BNOs and students and highly skilled people who have been offered places.
So you do like a survey to find out.
Initially it's a survey, and then we go on to do some in-depth interviews. From there we can extract information and kind of
So you finished your masters already?
Yes.
When did you finish it?
When was it? 2015.
Okay.
14, 15. Yeah, it's good.
So you did your master's in
International relations.
international relations. You did your bachelor's in
Sociology and
That's very
criminology.
interesting. What does it cover, like in terms of sociology and criminology?
In terms of sociology and criminology, it's a study of society. It's a study of people in the society. So it's about human social behavior and why are we the way we are,
Yeah.
or what are the influences behind it. And it also studies a lot about society, small groups, larger groups, organizations, and kind of we're trying to find out what we can do to make the social lives better, understand it a bit more in depth. Sociology, it's really interesting. Touches upon cultures, identity, from music to celebrities to,
It's a very broad
it's
subject.
a very broad subject,
Yeah.
and what shapes us to be this, you know. And criminology is obviously to do with crime as a whole and the criminal justice system.
What made you take this subject that you studied?
I was really fascinated as I was growing up with people.
Yeah.
I have this, I don't know, this fascination with people and why are they the way they are,
Yeah.
and their social behavior. Like, as a Nepali person, you act a certain way compared to a British person, let's say. Or all our cultures vary, but within that culture as well, there's subcultures, right? So there's males and females, and also who, as you're growing up, you kind of have those, I'm sure you've heard of like punks and, mods and rockers and skinheads, and how that could be an identity as well. So it's a study of identity, which I was really interested in. So, you can say you're a Nepali, you're a male, but I'm sure there's much more to that.
Definitely.
Yeah, as to who you are. So,
Yeah, I thought we used to study social studies in
school,
and I thought it was just about history and about kings and.
Oh no! Well, that's history.
Yeah, that's history. But I didn't realize that there was so much to social science, obviously criminology and all those types of areas within social science. And you did international relationship in masters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you have to briefly cover in
international relations? Like how sociology is a study of society.
Yeah.
International relations is a study of the world politics and how actors interact with each other.
Right.
And it's also about foreign policy. So it's about state actors, non-state actors, so involving countries, nations, world politicians and their impact on the world, organizations like UN, IMF, Amnesty International, and their impact towards the policies and towards the world. So it's just a study of what's going on in the contemporary world. So we covered a lot of Iraq and Afghan and Syria and so on.
That's cool.
It's a very interesting subject.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
And what are the projects that you're doing at the moment? Or
So I've talked about the CNS UK. And I'm also working on another project, Namas Adventures, which focuses on adventures, traveling to Nepal, of course.
Yeah.
And it covers Annapurna base, Everest base regions to kind of travel, and it's for people who wants to kind of obviously have that adventure, but yet be indulged in the whole culture of Nepal, so the local way of living, and just authentic culture, just experience it, I guess.
right.
So
what's your role in that then?
it focuses on, so there's various aspects of it.
Okay.
So we have this one aspect, you can just do adventures as well if you want to, but there's also adventure with a purpose. So you can volunteer whilst you're on an adventure. So you, for instance, perhaps go to an adventure for 2 weeks, but do a volunteer work for a week.
Yeah.
So your time's well spent, because that's what I realized when kind of traveling to some places. I just don't want to go there to just kind of see what it has to offer, but also be with the people, get to understand the culture, the people, and that's where you get a better understanding of the place.
Yeah.
So I think
Are you going to one of those
Yeah, eventually I
adventures?
will. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're kind of just on a start. We're just on a start. We're just starting up at the moment.
Right.
But eventually, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, you should try it too.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe I want to go to one
Yeah,
of those adventures.
of course.
Yeah,
Of
and then
course.
just not just like hike or things like that, just but to experience actually the culture.
The culture, yeah, and challenge yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Is it just in Nepal? Are you thinking about going to other countries as well?
I mean, at the moment, we're just focusing on Nepal because
Right.
there's so much that we could do in Nepal.
Yeah.
And slowly, I'm sure we will venture out. But we want to start up on Nepal first and see how successful it gets, and just trying to promote the industry, the tourism industry.
Yeah.
Because I think it definitely helps the development side of things as well. When you do, Nepal is what tourism is the biggest. Nepal gets a lot of money from tourism. So
Tourism, and there's it's mainly tourism.
It's mainly
because a lot of
tourism.
tourists goes. I
Yeah.
think after the earthquake, the amount of people going there is reduced
Reduced
like,
a lot.
significantly.
yeah.
But I think what you guys doing with the that adventure, the Namas adventure, I think that will kind of help get more tourists in Nepal as well.
Yeah, it's to promote that
Yeah,
as well,
promote.
and promote development at the same time whilst having an adventure of a lifetime.
Just tell me, like, what are some of the goals and dreams that you have, sort of like the next 5 to 10 year
Yes.
plan?
Oh God.
It's one of our classic the Inspire Nepal Show type questions.
I don't, to be honest, like 5 to 10 years is a long period
It
of
is long
time.
time.
So I haven't kind of given it that much thought. But it's more than a dream. I know what kind of a life I want to live.
Yeah.
And I think doing these kind of individual projects will kind of lead me to it somehow or some way or the other.
Okay.
So at the moment, it's just I do want to focus my work on Nepal, and I think there's so much that could be done and can be done. So the main focus is at the moment would be on Namas Adventure and CNS UK, and I think the research that we're doing with CNS UK will help the upcoming generations in the future in the UK, so they can go back to some research and say, oh, this is how the second generation lived, or have an academic, a report or a study that people can refer back to. And with Namas Adventures, maybe, we're obviously aiming that it's going to go well. So even with that, we can try and see if we can explore that in many ways. And yeah, at the moment, the goal is just to do what
you're doing right now.
Yeah, do what I'm doing and do it,
But you do have like kind of what you want to like get in your life, and what type of lifestyle that you want to lead.
I want to work in Nepal.
You definitely want to travel.
Yeah, yes. Oh my God, traveling is
Traveling.
comes on the most first and foremost. I just want to be able to, like the show is about inspiring individuals. I want to be able to inspire people too. And whatever knowledge I have, I want to give. And hopefully, I know whilst volunteering, I realized that it's not just about giving, because you receive so much in return. It's almost like what you're giving is not enough, because they teach you life lesson is something that you're never going to get it from anywhere. So just keep doing that, keep giving, and
Okay, next question. This is another classic, the Inspire Nepal type questions. There are people who want to go to like and study like let's say what you're doing, social science, into like maybe politics or international relations, sociology, whatever, and they want to obviously volunteer, start their own projects, and basically help. They want to do something to help out, contribute to the community, to society. What would you tell them in terms of giving advice to what they should do?
I think before you go for, if you want to study the social science discipline, go for it. It's rewarding, it's educational, and you feel responsible. You owe this responsibility to the world. So it's a very good discipline to get into. In terms of volunteering, I realized that you got to be skilled. You got to gain some skills here from the UK, or wherever it is. Say if you want to go into teaching, maybe take some teaching courses at TFL or so on, because when you do go back to Nepal or any volunteering, you can give so much more. rather than just kind of turning up.
Yeah.
And that was one of the drawbacks that I faced personally. If I had probably done teachers training prior to going to the monk, you know, maybe my experience would have enhanced and I could have taught the kids in a more effective manner. Or so in terms of volunteering, whatever field that you do want to go into, do your research, get some skills before you do decide to go, but go for it, because it's one of the most rewarding experiences of a lifetime. You know, you learn a lot.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those viewers are thinking, oh, I want to do, like, you know, I want to study sociology, but there isn't like a very good career path in there in terms of money.
Yeah.
And I think that's why more people are going towards the conventional type of courses.
Yes.
Because like they see money in those careers. What do you want to say to that?
Follow your passion.
Yeah.
You know, money will come sooner or later, and you know, if it's about making money to you, then definitely go for it. You know, there's no right or a wrong path.
Yeah.
But if you do follow your passion, it's going to lead somewhere. What reward are you after? You know, are you after money, or are you after social rewards? You know, your job satisfaction. What will satisfy you in your life? You know, to be able to be content with your job, your life. Just follow your passion. Just do what you wanted to do in the first place. It might be rough, it might take time, but eventually, I'm sure it'll all come together. It'll make sense.
It will make sense.
It'll
Definitely
make
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. You know, I said earlier that I had no clue about sociology and things like that. After talking to you, I realized I'm actually quite interested in some of the aspect of sociology, as in the behavioral side and the psychology. There's psychology and social.
Yeah, it kind of overlaps.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really into like those behavioral and psychology aspect of sociology. And yeah, after speaking to you, I'm like, that's very interesting. Last question. Again, very similar. If you had to like leave some sort of message to the world, to the people, let's say before you die.
Steep.
What would you want to say?
I
mean, obviously you're still young, and you still got a long way to go, and it's very difficult questions. If you ask someone like, okay, what do you want to tell people before you die, they'll be like, I haven't had time to think about
it.
Yeah.
But I would say, us as Nepali youths living in the UK, we're absolutely privileged, and you know, we're so lucky and blessed to be living in this country. So take some of that blessing and give back to the country that you came from, because that's your motherland. You know, not just Nepal. I mean, give back to the whole world. We live in the most privileged country where everything is accessible, everything's here, but not everyone lives this kind of a lifestyle. And just because it's not happening in your doorstep doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know, kind of open your eyes, see beyond what you see, and there's much more that you can, you know, your life will be much more worthwhile if you do give and see what's out there. So I think just be responsible for your life, be responsible to the planet, to the society you live in, and give back as much as you can.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
That's very beautiful.
No, thank you.
Yeah, obviously, like I agree with everything you said, and it makes a lot of sense. And whoever is watching, they can definitely take away something, if not everything, into their life and just incorporate that. But I love what you said about not taking things for granted.
Yeah.
You know, just being responsible and just giving back, really.
Yeah.
But Poonam, I had an amazing conversation with you.
Thank you. So did I.
Yeah, and thanks for coming to our show. You drove all the way from Sanders.
No, it was. You know, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I would definitely love to sit down with you again very soon in the future and just catch up with you as to what you're doing with the projects and how it's going.
Yeah, we should.
But definitely we'll sit down in the future.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is it for this week. We will see you next week with some more, some other amazing guests in the show. Until then, take care.
Thank you.
Damn.